Hello everybody and welcome to the previews. Today we don't have Kathy again, but that's okay because I have two guests today. One is actually a guest host, and after the second is actually a guest. So, guest hosts, want to explain who you are?
Hey, my name is Kyle Torres. I run a review blog called kylesmoviereviews.tumblr.com. Simple enough.
And I'm Rob Fitz. I'm a filmmaker and makeup artist. I've been in the New England area for about 20 years doing this.
All right, great.
Yeah.
So you pretty much explained like what you do already, and I want to know like how you got into the movie/directing career that you do today.
I was always into horror movies when I was a kid. I watched a lot of stuff when I was really young, and I always wanted to make monsters and do makeup on people. I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and when I, got in there, started making some short films and practicing my special effects in the short films, I'd make everybody gory, and people would really freak out about the things I could create. So it inspired me to become a filmmaker as well as a makeup artist. When I got out of school, I started struggling to find work, doing makeup on movies whenever I could, and I also decided to make my own films. So that's basically how I got into it. Yeah.
What got you into the horror genre?
Well, specifically when I was like 11 years old, and this was a while ago, when you had to rent VCRs, right? I rented a bunch of movies. One of the movies was George Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I watched that movie, I was about 11, and it blew me away. It made me go, when the zombies were ripping the bikers apart and pulling their guts out and eating them, I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do for a living. Yeah. It's like seeing something that you're not supposed to see, and the taboo of it. I was like, wow, like I got to do this. And then I started putting, makeup and gore and blood on my friends and running around with a really old, crappy video camera. And we made our own movies and everything else. So that's how it started, and that's kind of how it always starts, I guess, as you just practice and, you do things and, mess people up and, torture your friends, basically,
Yeah.
And I love it, and it's, it's my, favorite thing in the world. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So since you've been working on makeup with your friends for I'm assuming a really long time, and other people as well, like actors and whatnot, I want to know what's like the hardest makeup job you've done and how so?
Well, usually hard makeup jobs are, when you're doing makeup effects, gore and blood and guts is really not that hard. Usually that's the simplest stuff. It's when you're creating something that has to look like as close to human as possible, and as realistic as possible, like when you're doing old age makeup or when you're doing some kind of makeup that you're recreating an entire species or making a monster or something like that. One of the other restriction, and I've done a lot of low budget movies too, is that when you have no money practically to do a film, and the director and whoever, like, they expect you to come up with amazing stuff with like $2,000 or whatever it is, like hardly any money, then it's really difficult. And there's a movie you can check out called Almost Human that I did the effects for, and all I had was 2 interns helping me, and I did the effects for this entire movie, and including our salaries, I think the entire movie, it was for $7,000, and the movie, it's a feature, and there's some kind of makeup effect every like 5 minutes. Like there's somebody being like either slaughtered or like aliens coming out of cocoons, and it's all this alien stuff going on. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I would say that was the most difficult, just because of the makeup like the budget restrictions.
Yeah.
I've done bigger budget movies, and it's difficult when you have to get something done fast. I did a movie called Bleed for This, which hasn't come out yet, and it was a boxing film, and that was probably in Rhode Island. Yeah, it's about Vinny Paz, Vinny Pazienza, and that was probably the hardest film I ever did, because we were running around like crazy. It was just two makeup artists. I was the key, and my boss, Liz Bernstrom, was the department head, and basically it was just the two of us, and we had to bust our ass to like run around and do all of these makeup effects, regular makeup, spraying people down in the ring, and like there's a ton of boxing scenes, and we're just, at the end of that movie, I was like, all right, I'm gonna collapse for like a week in sleep. That was a really tough one. Yeah.
Is there anybody in particular that you like to work with? Anybody who you've like done repeated stuff on? I know you've worked on 2 David O. Russell movies, at least, The Fighter and American Hustle.
Yep. Actually, one of my favorite people to work with is a makeup artist by the name of Howard Berger. He's the B in K&B Effects. I've worked with Howard on a couple of films. I met him on a Bruce Willis movie called The Surrogates, and worked with him briefly there. And then last year I did Ted 2 with him, and he hired me as the third on Ted 2, and that was really nice. He was so much fun to work with. He's such a nice, kind person, and he's awesome. So the K and B and or the B in K&B Effects, and he's a pretty cool guy.
Cool. And speaking of people that you work with, say if like an actor, writer, or director wanted to get in contact with you and work on a project, what's like the best way to go about that?
Well, a lot of times they can find my number, or they can call me. But emailing is totally cool too. rob@godofvampires.com is a good way to get in touch with me. Or if they know someone who knows me, by all means, feel free to give me a call. I'm not, famous or secretive or anything. I don't like hide from people, especially if it's about work, So absolutely.
Yeah. So you said that you do a lot of makeup work, and then I noticed you started going into directing when scrolling through IMDb.
Yes.
What was that transition like, going from makeup work to being behind the camera and doing directing?
Well, I've always had a passion to make films, and my interest, the ultimate expression, I feel, is to direct a feature film, or to direct movies, because you're kind of in control of everything in a way. And so going from doing just makeup on films to actually being able to, live my real passion, which is directing, was no problem at all. Nice. I was so, I guess, I was just so passionate about it and focused on it that it basically was like, felt like a natural course. It felt like a natural progression. In fact, the last movie, I did this movie, God of Vampires, in 2000, and then in 2012 I did a movie called Blessed. And Blessed, when I got, in the director's chair of that, and that's not even a horror film, really. I was incredibly comfortable. Like, I would sit there and go and look at what we had to do, and it was overwhelming how much we had to get done, but I had a great crew, and I knew what I had to do, and I was just kind of no nonsense about it, and I trusted everyone, and I just hammered out all of these scenes every day. We shot like 10 to 14 pages a day, and cranked this movie out, and it came out very, very well. We've won about 5 awards. We've been to 7 film festivals. We're really kicking butt over there with this movie that, it just felt so natural and so comfortable
Awesome.
to direct films that I can't wait to do it again.
All right.
You know.
That's good to hear. And
Yeah.
it's no secret that like you're a lover of like films and film history as well. Before the show actually started, you were like telling us about like all these like kind of underground directors kind of doing like their own thing on that for the crazy things that they would be doing. And because of that love of films, was that kind of what sparked the event Weirdo Wednesday at the Luna Theater?
Oh yeah, so well, Weirdo Wednesdays. I discovered the Luna Theater when a few friends of mine brought me over there to Mill Number 5, and I walked into this cool little theater. You know, that it looks beautiful. It's in this funky place, and it's very comfortable. And I saw a few movies there. I remember seeing Babadook there, and I saw A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night there, and a few other things, What We Do in the Shadows, and I'm like going, this is the coolest place. Like, this is a great place. So I kept on asking the girl who runs it, say, hey, look, you know, I'm a filmmaker, and I do this and that, and, you know, is there any way you'd be interested in having me, like, do some movies here, you know, or maybe have a film festival? Like, let's, you know, do something. And she was like, oh, wow, really? Great, you know? And I would say, oh, I could show this, this, and this. And I was, you know, I'd be telling her, like, titles of movies, and she would look at me with this blank stare, like, going, like, what's that? Like, and then, like, okay, so you don't know what these are. You know, you don't know anything about these movies. And I'm like, okay, well, I can help you, because I know everything about these movies. So I was like, okay, just give me a call when you get a chance, and whatever. And it took a little while, but then she approached me, and she was like, hey, I want to do this thing. You know, what do you think? And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And she had a brilliant. She designed the artwork for the cover, you know, for the thing with Wednesday Addams. I was like, this is brilliant. Let's do it. I'll hook you up. And we've been doing it for the past 5 weeks. And every week has been a packed house. It's crazy, and it's free. So you come down to Weirdo Wednesdays, you get to see this cool movie. I do a little intro to the film, and we talk about it a little bit, and then I show these cool trailers from old movies.
Gosh, those are so funny.
Well, it's a lot of fun, right? It's great to see all that old stuff, and and crazy commercials and bumpers for things, you know, that like I mean, people haven't seen for 30 years, 40 years. It's like they're from like the 60s, you know? And it's a blast. And if you like movies, it's a comfortable theater, you know, and it's a cool place. And the Luna Theater, Weirdo Wednesdays at 7:30. On Wednesday.
It's
every
totally
Wednesday.
fun. I've been going every week, except I couldn't make it to the first. I was out in New York. But it's just been such a blast going to those, just having all that camaraderie with the rest of the audience.
Exactly. And you share all this with your friends, right? You tell all your friends to come, right? Well, that's the thing is the more you tell people, the more, like, I'd like to get to a point where, you know, we don't have enough seats. You know, and we'd be like, sorry guys, we gotta hold off, you know, you know, come earlier. You know, I have friends who come early now.
Oh, we do. Me
like
and my
half hour
friends
early.
and family do. We come over like an hour early just to make sure we can get a seat.
That's awesome. See, that's cool.
And I mean, I've been telling my friends that it's pretty much just like weird part of Netflix night in a movie theater, and I love that kind of stuff.
Though actually, I don't think any of these movies you could find on Netflix.
Oh my gosh, no.
No. That's the thing, and what's really fascinating about it is we didn't know if it would work. Right. And I thought, well, you know, like, what is the exact opposite of what everyone has? Everyone has got Netflix at home. Everyone's got a DVR. They can watch whatever show they want. And, you know, why don't we just take that away from them? Except that we give them a movie theater experience with a bunch of other people, right? And it's free, but the catch is you don't know what you're going to get until you get there.
That's something that hooked me.
See, that's brilliant in a way. Actually, it wasn't even my idea. It was the girl Amelia from the Luna, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. Like, people are going to come. or we'll see if they come, and they did to this thing, and they're almost never disappointed. I mean, there are a few people who left a little offended at like blood-sucking freaks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, but that's understandable. But like the people that love it. And if you don't like it and you leave, well, you didn't pay anything, so no big deal.
Yeah, that was actually like one of my friends. Like the first time, I was just like, oh man, like I need to talk to this guy, and I always wanted to come down to the Luna Theater, and I want to see Weirdo Wednesdays. So it was like this whole package deal was gonna be great.
It was gonna be great.
We walk into the theater, blood-sucking freak starts to play, and then immediately my friend gets very, very, very uncomfortable. I on the other hand, I was like loving it. I'm
You're
like, oh,
roaring, right?
Yeah.
She's like looking at you like, what is your problem?
And after I was just like, oh, like, do you want to leave? And then she's just like, well, I guess we didn't pay anything, so yes. So I mean, like honestly, I was having fun. Like I was actually trying to like do research and find it sometime soon to actually finish it, because like.
Oh, you didn't see all of it?
No.
Oh, it gets worse too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
man,
that's great. So much fun. And like and the funny thing is that they when I was doing a little research about that movie, Lloyd Kaufman from Troma, who makes like ridiculously stupid and offensive movies, he was like, we put this out, but we didn't originally put it out. But this is a movie that 40 years later is actually more offensive now than it was back in '76. The only other movie that's like that, which is a real accomplishment, is A Clockwork Orange.
Oh my God.
And that's Stanley Kubrick. So you got A Clockwork Orange, which is amazing, great art, but it is an offensive film in a lot of senses. And then Blood-Sucking Freaks. So it doesn't matter how trashy and how crappy your movie is, you make your stamp in the film history somehow. And that's cool, because it's hard work to put together a movie. Regardless of how poorly it's executed, there's still a lot of hard work in it, and it's cool when you do something. So don't ever give up. That's my advice for other filmmakers. No matter what you're doing, keep at it, and if you fall short, you fall short, but, who knows? 30 years later, some crazy people in a movie theater might be watching your movie and laughing at you, but at least they're being entertained in some way.
Yeah.
Like Nightmare City.